Hi there. Today we're the 6th of August and it's 1 hours 00, 1 hour 00 in the morning. Just coming back after having dinner with my husband's relatives, so-called in-laws, or I don't know. I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel very much appreciated by them, so I still give them the in-laws though. I still give them that benefit of calling them in-laws. Yeah, we just got in like a couple of minutes ago from dinner we had with them, and the discussion was very tense because a lot of people aren't aware on why they would spend hours on end on their smartphones, on the internet. No one cares to do any formal research on things that should be essential for everyday lives. So they don't seem to care. They don't do any researches yet. They will bring up certain topics and have hardly any arguments. When I voice my concerns and try to explain certain things to them, during these topics, they would get all, hasty and try, that always that the stereotype, like, don't raise your voice, stop vulgarizing everything. And they think so. We was having this discussion about Bill Gates, and I'm saying, okay, but this guy, even if he's philanthropic, he has a philanthropic organization, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He's uh he's an evil genius, because that's what he is. That's how I see him as. Okay, I've had direct experience with this guy on my that previous Facebook account that I've deleted. Okay, I have I've had experience with a lot. Well, whether it be the common man on the street, a common man on the street, common man or woman on the street, to these higher ups in society. Okay, they've infiltrated and imposed themselves on that account, hacking into that account, and I was being tracked by a lot of persons working for the government, within government. And I was being tracked by persons working at Google and Microsoft for over a number of years. And so, yes, I'm sure of what I'm saying now on this recording. Yeah, and as we were, having conversation, it started off all well, and then they try to make it look like, okay, you're this black woman. The way these words they would use to like stereotype people of color, but in a diplomatic way. Yeah, that's what it was like. But I managed to keep my head up and just surf through all the BS. It didn't matter anyway. Yeah. And so after that, when I just came in a minute ago, and topic went from one thing to the next between me and my husband. And as I was scrolling down my YouTube channel, I saw this French politician that Parliament, that's in Parliament. Yeah, he's a member of Parliament. He was picking out about three thing orders, and on how they're the future. I don't know who's the future, but this is what showed up on my channel. Post of this local politician here in France, and member of parliament, stating that, okay, well, we should in somewhere show or act out in a moral manner concerning women that have basically birthed children and, what they call, but like, well, it was like you deliver a child, like, and abandon this baby in the hospitals and stuff like that. That was his argument that he was raising within Parliament. And I find it quite interesting because I've been accused of doing the same. Not that I'm sure of doing that, or, because of how things were. I know I had at one time seen a gynecologist in French Guiana, that was in Saint French Guiana, at the hospital in French Guiana. I had at one time seen a gynecologist to have what's called this psychosid, this pill psychosid, where you would insert through and place one under your tongue. So I've been through a lot, and what I wanted to say is that, if they want in any way to prevent such things from happening, because there's a lot of women that have had to abandon children in hospital, not that they would have liked to, because no, I can say that, and I know that mothers, me, myself, being a mom of two children, two beautiful daughters, well educated, kind, empathic, and nice to be around, very funny, they're cute. Sometimes, as parents, sometimes you have to be stern on children and, not let them have their own way. But overall, my childrens are cute. I know that I've done a great job in raising them to the best of my abilities. And I know that they're strong girls, and they're smart, and they're very empathic and fun to be around. They're so much fun to be around. They're sweet girls. Yeah, yeah, and from knowing that, once you got the responsibility, whether it was planned or unplanned, if you have the responsibility to be a parent, whether it's planned or unplanned, your sole desire would be to raise that child or the children that you deliver, whether it be a single bird or twins or triplets or whatever in the case you may deliver. But any woman that has been conceived, their main desire is to have that child birthed and raised and loved and cared for. And I don't think, with my knowledge, that most women that have had to face up with a harsh reality of delivering a child in a hospital and abandoning and that child. No woman, or no woman. I can't say that in. I don't know for others, but I know that for myself. Well, I know mothers like to be mothers. Mothers would like to know that, okay, they have the means to care for their children. Women like women like having a home, having a place where they can raise their children. They like having preparing dinners and having play times and leisures. And we are creators. Okay, women are creators, and I don't see it fit that a woman or women who've had the harsh experiences to abandon a child in a hospital, I don't think that these women should be discriminated upon or and looked down as lesser human beings. Because I'm wise enough to know that no woman, whether it be a man, whatever, whichever parent wouldn't want, well, it's your own. It's your own that you're having to part ways with, whether you want to or not, and it's situations that causes these type of reactions. This is not something that women will willfully do. And I don't only want to speak up on the women's behalf. I want to speak about fathers, because there's a lot of deadbeat dads running around out there. What about the men that are partaking in conceiving this child? What about them? Why must they be out there scot-free running around? Why the woman have to bear the burden or the shame of having to abandon a child in a hospital? Why should it be that way? Why should all the blame be placed on this woman? So what I wanted to say, with all the rules and regulations and reputation that they would try to give themselves here within the French government, act like decent folks, act like they're sophisticated, act like if they're classy folks, act like if they have it all going on, and everywhere else in the world, everyone else in the world or whatever country is lower than theirs and they're better than everyone else, and give everybody this impression. This is what they try to feed into their citizens' head. You can see the worst. You turn on the news, you would see that they would show all the atrocities happening in every other countries to make you feel as if, well, like you're living in a bed of roses here in France. But that's not the case, right? That's not the case. You can't just try to capitalize off of someone's misfortune, whether it be an individual or an entire country. You have to make do, and you have to make things right in your own country, in your own homes, before you stand up and decide whether you're going to speak out and criticize the others. All right? No, but they want to give you this impression like everything is all fine and dandy here. So they would show you the worst, show you all the terrible stuff that's happening in other countries. And then they would try to act as if they're not doing anything. All their citizens are well taken care of. And if all their citizens were well taken care of, the impression that they want to give others, if their citizens, I repeat, were well taken care of, you wouldn't have women, whether it be immigrants or French nationals, abandoning infants in hospitals in France or abroad or wherever. That won't happen. So, what I wanted them to do, you have to get your own shit right. Get your own shit right and stop experimenting on unsuspecting individuals, whether it be men, women, or children. Stop experimenting on individuals. Stop that experiment. Stop it now. You want to put an end to women conceiving children and then abandoning them in hospitals? Stop that experiment. But it's been happening for centuries and centuries and centuries. It's something that never stops. Okay? You're used to having your handlers or your foot soldiers. These handlers that are out there, having unprotected sex with their potential victims. And these are public security officials that are being used to track and gather information like offline data out of individuals, mostly women. You need to stop or render these foot soldiers that are working for you to track down women and impregnated them and then turn their backs. You need to sterilize these bastards if you want this type of stuff to stop happening. You can't always blame the victims, but then again, this is France, right? This is what they're good at. So they're experimenting on women. They're experimenting on whoever they feel like experimenting on because these are big eugenicists. They practice eugenesis. They will harvest whoever organs they find lucky to harvest. I mean, they carry out experiments on pigeons. So who else wouldn't be capable of carrying out their experiments on? And then when the shit hit the fan, yes, I repeat, when the shit hits the fan, they want to blame the victims. So then you have a barrage of women that was impregnated by their foot soldiers working for the local authorities and the government to gather offline data that's been used to fund organ harvesting centers and their social security. And these non-consensual experimentation that they have been carried out against innocent men, women, and children. And their foot soldiers, none of them aren't sterilized in any way whatsoever. I mean, like, you know how they would like to sterilize animals? That's what they should do. Okay? And then another thing is that most of their foot soldiers, people that would use because they want to carry out their experiment, right? Most of these handlers, their foot soldiers that would use as handlers to handle unsuspecting women, mostly migrants, and impregnated them, most of these men are sick, have been diagnosed with all manner of diseases. Okay? I wouldn't know because I've escaped the worst. And who's best to know but a victim? But I'm a lucky victim because I've discovered this and I secured myself very early on in their experiment. So it's a lot that they've been trying to do. So when you're going to accuse women of leaving children, abandoning children, babies in hospitals and so on, you too have to take the responsibility, accept the responsibility that is part of your program. All this were planned in advance on the unsuspecting individual, whether it be a migrant or a French national. It's all the same. This is something that's been happening for a long time. Okay? So you're going to speak up about women being animals or acting out as animals because this woman might have the misfortune she had to deliver a child and abandon it in a hospital. This has been happening, I mean, like, for thousands and thousands of years. And in France, there's a higher percentage of that's happening here in France than any other part of Europe. Because the system just sucks. These are just a bunch of self-sufficient individuals running government and having the least idea or don't care for what happened to persons within their population, whether it be the citizens or migrants, whatever they can use to capitalize upon, because all they care about is to having a data on your organs, on your blood group, and to see how best they can harvest your being. This is all they care for. They don't care whether a child is abandoned. They don't care. They don't care. Because if they had cared, or they ever cared at all, they would have put certain preventative measures in place to avoid such situation and circumstances from occurring and reoccurring year after year, months after months. And these are centuries old experiments that they've been carried out. They don't care. They'll try to give you the impression like they care and that they're just upstanding citizens of France. The government will stand up, okay, we're upstanding, and try to give their own citizens the impression like they're above everyone else's. Just full of themselves, destroying their own citizens because they have a big ego. They just care about themselves, whatever make them feel proud about themselves. So you have people that are running, people that are governing, that are proud in their in their arrogance, and are trying to blame victims, women and men, parents that have faced the harsh reality of having to abandon their children to seek a better life. That's happening in Syria, but on a different scale. Okay, that's another topic for another day. But it's more likely the same. No one runs from anything that's good. Nobody wouldn't have it all going on for them and run. And that's the same term I would use for any parents, any mother or father, whoever had to face up to the harsh reality of having to save themselves, whether it was to abandon a child or whoever. I mean, that's not my case. And I wish it weren't for women who have had to who would deliver children and abandon them in hospitals and stuff like that. I wish that didn't that didn't, I wish that there was a way whereby they could have managed to raise their children or their child on their own. But just know, if you ever had that experience, if you've ever shunned upon from making certain decisions into protecting yourself, whereby you see it fit that you could only afford to protect yourself, don't feel guilty about anything, because it's not your fault. The government has been carrying out, the government and the shadow government, because we're ruled by two governments, have been carrying out non-consensual experiments on our beings. And as say, in terms of saying our, I don't mean only me or my family. It's everyone that's a victim of these atrocities. All right? So if they want to make you feel guilty because you've had to abandon a child in a hospital, and if that was your only choice you had, and you made that choice, then so be it. But just know that you're not guilty and you're completely innocent, because all of that was caused due to the experiments being carried out by your local and shadow government. Don't feel guilty, but know when to respect and when to harvest and have a mind and project thoughts of your own. All right? Because it's very tricky in this experiment. They have outwardly technologies that can have you doing things against your own will. So you have to herd. It's about herding your sanity, herding your ability, herding your will to combat and understand that each and every one of us is being experimented on. And if you know you can do better, then do better. But if it's a whereby you have to save yourself and your children, and you put under certain circumstances, then so be it. Just don't blame yourself, because no woman or no man, as I said before, no woman or no man would intentionally abandon their children or child under no circumstances. That means that person or these people were in a very, very, very tight situation. And that is called moral mannerism. To understand these situations, you don't have to be a deep thinker to understand these situations. Under which certain circumstances that men, women, and children, mostly people of color, have been surviving and living under. I mean, they be going through the worst. I'm a black woman. I have no hate or show no animosity towards anyone, unless I get, yeah, I would show animosity towards someone that I know that are out to cause me harm. Of course, I would. But overall, I'm a very sweet person and very understanding. So don't ever, and I repeat, don't ever take the blame for situations that was not under your control. Never take the blame for that. So with that being said, or with this being said, the French government need or should place, like they should do something about these handlers, their foot soldiers that they have out there, these public security officials that they have out there, having unprotected sex and impregnating mostly migrants, women. All right? You guys should take responsibility for that. Either you sterilize your foot soldiers like you would do the cats and dogs and whatever animals. All right? And just cut the bullshit. Yeah, cut the BS. Because all of these things are factors that are caused due to the non consensual experiment that you've been carrying out against, I mention again, against unsuspecting individuals and mostly migrants. So, I'm going to close this off now.